Hi,
Hey,
I'm Oliver the Ricketts.
I'm Jeremy Kessler.
I'm Brittany, and it's 6 degrees outside.
And we're about to go see Glass. I'm really excited because I love Unbreakable, and Split was a pretty good movie, so I'm interested to see what the movie is. I think it's a really cool idea to have secret trilogies, and I wish more people would do them.
I like the idea of making a trilogy out of a movie that didn't necessarily need to be one, but like they did it in a clever way that wasn't so like obviously just to make more money out of the same thing.
Because he picked something that really there wasn't a lot of demand for. And really, when it came out, wasn't exactly well received. I love it.
I love it too. I think that it's a great movie, and I think that Split is a good movie.
I liked Split more.
It looked like it was doing some interesting things in the trailer, but it also did some things that I thought were kind of weird in the trailer.
Well, you don't think that Sam Jackson is a super genius?
Yeah. And I just totally don't get that feel from Unbreakable.
I don't get a feel that he's not, though. I don't see why he couldn't be, but that's just me. You also don't like the tie-in in Split.
No, I don't. I think that the scene where I think that the scene where they established that the two are connected is a fucking weird scene, and I think that the reason you like it is because you didn't see it coming and you were like, whoa, but I knew it was gonna happen. So
Right.
I was like picking it apart.
The only thing that makes me nervous is that people have been going and seeing this movie all weekend and mainly have not been liking it. This being said, same thing happened for Unbreakable, and I really like that movie, and people are only just coming around to it.
I just feel like they're going into it saying that they don't like it because now they know it's part of this trilogy, and it's not like just a movie, it's a part of something. So like they're coming out and saying, oh, it's not good because X, Y, and Z, whereas like if it was just its own movie, they'd probably like it more, you know?
Right. Because it's not a fair expectation that it's going to be as good as Unbreakable or as good as Split. You should be judging it on the merits of this is just a movie that stars those characters.
Right.
Yeah.
We should go see it though, because we are running a little late.
Yes.
So we just got out of Glass.
And now we're in different seats.
Yeah, that's gonna be really confusing for the audience, I think.
The audience won't be able to put together that you were sitting here and I was sitting there, and now we've swapped.
They're not even gonna know who
We
I
should
am.
make another one of these explaining that.
Yes.
You guys start, because I definitely have feelings about this.
Overall, I think the only word, and I said this to Oliver while we were watching it, the only word I have to describe the movie is contrived. I just felt like too much of what was going on was very conveniently put that way. That aside, allowing myself to have suspension of disbelief, I don't think I disliked it as much as I thought I was going to dislike it, especially in like the first part of the movie. I can understand the merit and what was trying to be done. I just think that it maybe wasn't executed as best as it could have been.
I liked the movie, but we just get to the end of the movie, especially when the twist comes around. I guess my word, if Brittany's word was contrived, my word would have been unsatisfying.
I really like the first 30 minutes of this thing. Maybe a little more than that. I was with this movie despite it giving me warning signals not to be for a very long time. And I think you're right. It's definitely because I like Unbreakable and I like the character of David Dunn and I like Elijah. And because James McAvoy does a really, really great job in this character.
I will say he was probably the best part of this movie, and another reason I think why I liked Split more than I liked Unbreakable.
Right. The thing is, this movie did not give me those things. Those are things that I like independently of this movie. They didn't invent James McAvoy. This isn't Unbreakable. So then it comes down to, do I like this movie? And the answer to that is no, I don't. Because you're stringing me along, trying to get me to feel like This big thing is going to happen at the end. And then we get to where the movie's wrapping up, and I'm sitting there going, I don't understand what the point was. Not that I don't get what happened, but I just don't understand, why it had to be told. Oh, so I think my word will be underwhelming.
That will be our trilogy. Is contrived. Contrived, unsatisfying, underwhelming.
Oh, yeah.
Unbreakable.
Unbreakable. So the thing is, speaking of Unbreakable, I think my number one issue with this whole thing is that Bruce Willis does not need to be in this movie. And it's nice at first to see him doing the superhero thing. I like that you see him with his son. Unbreakable gave him a happy ending. We got a whole really satisfying arc with him. And then this movie brings him away from that ending and away from that conclusion, brings him in a huge circle, and then shits all over him. As a fan of the character, you're not seeing anything you like happening to him. This movie doesn't give him a character arc. He's just there because he's the guy that was in Unbreakable. And because you can't have the other two without him, I suppose.
I mean, we were saying before, the most that he goes through is the same thing he goes through in Unbreakable, where he's like, my powers aren't really real, and then he comes to the realization that they are.
Right, so essentially he has the same arc as he does in Unbreakable. It's not that he doesn't have an arc, it's that he has literally the same issue. He goes back on what he's believed and known to be true of himself for the last probably 10 years or so, and doubts it because some bitch in a fucking pastel jumpsuit comes in and tells him, oh, you might just be a mentalist.
Which really calls into question the big conclusion of Unbreakable, because if it can be that suggested to him, then really he didn't come to any conclusion. Which really sucks, because now you're taking old things that I like and shitting all over them. And really, you could have had the same movie with Sam Jackson and just James McAvoy. I know people would have asked, hey, where's Bruce Willis? But if you aren't going to do anything with him, I'd prefer he wasn't in the movie.
Yeah.
Well, they did do something with him. It just wasn't the thing that anybody wanted to have happen.
Hey, the son's eyes, they're weird to me. Sometimes they look like they're all black, and I don't like that.
Yeah.
Strike against this movie.
One nice thing that the movie does, M. Night Shyamalan is a genius when it comes to making your movie look good. He's never put out a movie that was not visually pleasing and extremely creative with the camera work. So I have to praise it for that, because there are some very cool shots in this movie that make you look at things in a different perspective.
James McAvoy and Bruce Willis throw a table back and forth, and I'm like, this is just weird to imagine this is the same character as in Unbreakable, but
Right.
I shouldn't really fault this movie for that.
But I think you should, because then if they didn't want it to be the same character, don't take the characters from Unbreakable. M. Night with the fucking twists, and I know everybody says it, but this movie in particular doesn't really have a whole lot of plot to begin with. So by the time we get to the end, he's introducing 3 different splits, not splits, twists, to a story that we didn't have to begin with. You know what I mean? And I almost would have preferred if that twist at the end had just been something we knew the whole movie, rather than something that was supposed to blow my mind open, because it would have made the thing feel more complete.
Yeah.
So by the time we get there, it's nothing that's been foreshadowed and nothing that we're made to expect.
Felt like the big twist at the end would have been better if it had been hinted to, but it was never hinted to, so it just kind of came out of nowhere.
Right.
Yeah.
Or even if you just started the movie and went, hey, this is the situation, and we got a movie about those characters, because that would have been at least interesting and different.
There's a point I was thinking, like he's the twist guy, so there is going to be a twist.
Right.
And, I don't know, it almost seems like there wasn't a good idea for a twist, and this is just what happened.
Or if you would have given us that twist in the second act of the movie and then made the third act more about that twist.
Right.
Then I at least would have felt more invested in it. It was like you added it in the last 10 minutes of the movie and then expected me to just kind of go with it for what had been going on up until that point.
And the problem is you're not going to get another Bruce Willis was dead the whole time. That's your best twist. Stop trying to top it. It's like, you can't make the plot of your movie be the twist. That's stupid and it doesn't work. Another thing that was stupid and didn't work was how they changed the main character from Split in her whole relationship with Kevin Wendell Crumb.
Yep.
Yeah.
I
I wasn't into that.
That, I think, was so dumb, and I think is just as egregious as Bruce Willis appearing in the movie.
Like, they needed Kevin to have somebody as an opposite.
Right.
Because this movie is very much about parallels. The yin, the yang, the dark, the light. This movie's all about that.
Right. But at no point in Split do I think, oh, she wants to be friends with him. You could have had the same character be the counterpart to Kevin Wendell Crumb and had it be an adversary relationship. And that almost might have been more interesting because the other two relationships are friends.
I feel that they tried to make a plot with her that she might also have one of these extraordinary abilities.
The insistence that she's broken and broken people is what makes these...
Sarah Paulson's character said to her, like when she was outside of when they were in the parking lot, like right before the whole thing really started going down, she said to her, she's like, I can't get to him now. Like, the lights aren't going to work. You're the one that's going to get him out.
I just figured
But
that
I
was
think-
supposed to be based off of their relationship rather than...
And that she was an anchor for him.
I understand that, but I felt that even though she is obviously the anchor for him, I get all of that, and I get the psychological aspect of that. But on the other side of it, I just felt like they were trying to make it like that she was this pure loving character, like this unconditional pure, like embodiment of pureness and love and goodness. That's at least what I got.
Which is fine, but there's no reason that you can't do that and have her not like Kevin Wendell Crumb. In fact, it's almost more interesting if she doesn't like him and, she has some kind of stake against him because he's the villain of the movie.
Right.
It's more realistic that she wouldn't like him. Like,
Right.
the fact that she's so sympathetic towards him is
Immediately pulls me out.
fucking... Like, it's bad, I guess, is the best way to put it.
Right, it's not good. It's not good storytelling.
You are trying to make these really logical reasonings as to why she wouldn't be sympathetic, which I understand, but clearly the movie was trying to push you in a different direction, that she was this unconditionally loving thing. She saw the good in him. They had this connection, and that's why.
Right. And that's fine, but I just feel like it's not the same character that I got in Split, and they didn't put in the work to make it the character now. And so it's still, there are logical reasons it could happen, and it could happen in real life, but the movie doesn't bother with giving me any of that. It's bad storytelling because they immediately want me to jump to this spot that doesn't make sense.
I don't know why they had to point out the fact that David's son and the girl from Split go to the same school.
Because David's son is already a character in the movie.
Right.
So it's not even like, hey, cool Easter egg, they're connected. We know they're connected. They meet in the movie.
He wouldn't... He's older than her. Is he still in school? I don't know. We're 20 and we're not in high school anymore.
I don't know if they necessarily were in school at the same time, but I'm just trying to piece together why they would have put him in the gymnasium watching people weightlift.
Right.
And he was it wasn't like a basketball uniform. It was like a gym uniform. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like what you would wear
remember
in
this
gym. He was
Right.
watching.
I
them
remember
play
the
basketball.
weightlifting. I just can't place exactly where it happened. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I remember seeing, Unbreakable. All right. That is one thing that was nice about it, was a lot of original locations from Unbreakable, which I got a little bit of a kick out of.
I think that probably one of my favorite parts, aside from James McAvoy, was all the callbacks that they kept doing to Unbreakable. I thought that was kind of cool.
That was cool. There was one that I thought was a little all right, But the rest of him, very, very cool. Especially the comic book store where he's yelling at him for being in the back.
Yeah.
That was awesome. I like that. I'm going to give this movie a C-. I am extremely disappointed. but I think that it had a decent first act and second act, and then somewhere in the third act it lost it because it really didn't know where it was going to start.
I want to give this. Okay, so my gut is telling me to give this a D+.
Then do it.
As much as there were things that I enjoyed watching in this movie, it can't help the fact that I walked out of it and was not satisfied by. I guess the ending, it just puts too much of a bad taste in my mouth.
Okay. I'm gonna give this a C. I didn't necessarily hate it. Again, I felt it was contrived. I felt a lot of it was very convenient and put there on purpose. And I don't appreciate that when it's being over abused in a movie that wants me to believe that this was made by smart people. So yeah, I guess I'm gonna go with the C. I really the things that are pulling it up for me are like James McAvoy's performance, and I liked again like the tie-ins and callbacks to Unbreakable. I thought that was cool. I didn't really mind where the story was going. I just think that the journey was much better than the destination.
Right.
Yeah. So
And I'd even say I didn't mind where it was going, but we never got there.
spoilers.
Oh yeah.
My big thing that I would like to spoil, just because I want to bitch about it a little bit, the fuck did you kill Bruce Willis for?
Yeah.
Because, like, that's now my biggest problem, because that character got a happy ending in the first movie. Very purposefully. He had a full arc, and then you took him out
It's bad enough
just
they
to
killed
stomp
his
on him.
wife,
Oh, that was shitty, too.
but they needed to kill her in order for them to keep their parallels.
So here's the thing. The twist is that there's this big organization going after both
The Clover people.
the Clover people.
So when Bruce Willis touches, I don't know her name.
Yeah.
Ellie Staple.
When Bruce Willis touches Ellie Staples' hand and he sees the crime that she committed, there's not a crime there. I thought that was weird.
I also thought that was weird. Now he's just like seeing people's
Right.
past.
Well,
Like it's a
Sorry.
but you could interpret it that he's seeing them plan a crime. You know?
but he doesn't. He just
He
sees,
doesn't get the plan.
He
It
doesn't.
was like, what am I looking at here? I thought
Right.
that somebody was gonna come like into the room and shoot it up,
Right.
and she was gonna be the only one that survived, but that didn't happen.
I thought that she was gonna kill the people in the room.
That organization is really cool. And if they had given them time to be in the movie, I think that would have been really cool.
Right, because it was basically like the Illuminati. Like these are the people that decide who's going to be important in our society and who's not.
Which is so much more infinitely interesting than Sam Jackson doing the same plot that he did in Unbreakable, just with the Beast.
I get that the whole point of this movie is to make connections and to link all these people together, but I think that making Kevin's father be on the same train that Bruce Willis was on, and therefore making Mr. Glass the one that like essentially created the Beast, contrived.
Right. Contrived, and the same thing that happened in Unbreakable.
Right,
And just because you acknowledge it doesn't change that you just made the same movie again.
right.
Because now that's
Except
two
you
characters.
killed all the characters.
Right. That's two characters who do the exact same thing they did in the first movie, except now they die, and that's supposed to be better?
It's not done as well.
Because, like, the whole thing with the train almost comes up as, like, an afterthought at first. Where, like, he goes, oh, yeah, by the way, you didn't tell him yet? And, like, why was it so convenient? You know what I mean? Like, what made Unbreakable so original and made it, like, work? You know what I mean? When it's doing the same things. But this just feels
Well,
like...
because you're saying it right then and there. We've seen it already. That's why it feels
Right.
unoriginal.
Yeah.
We've seen it in the
It's
same...
lit-
Not
right.
only have
literally
we
just not
seen it,
original.
We've seen it in the same
but
franchise.
we've seen it in the same franchise. Movie 1 and movie 3.
I think it's because he's doubling back and trying to create connections that clearly were not.
Which is
originally
like
intended
one
to
of
be
the
there.
things that like I hate most about like franchised movies.
Right.
is creating connections where there shouldn't be, which is almost like one of the biggest problems that I have with TV shows that go on for too long. Is they start making all these connections that never should have existed. And they were like, oh, remember in season 1, episode 2, where we talked about this guy's cousin's brother's sister's daughter's hamster? Oh yeah, well that hamster was actually the mother of the main character's daughter's hamster, and that's why they're all connected.
Like,
I need a fucking PhD to put all these movie theories together.
right. I hope that this doesn't damage the good streak that M. Night Shyamalan has been on, because I do think he's a really good filmmaker that gets a really bad rap. I'm Oliver the Ricketts.
I'm Brittany.
I'm Jeremy Kessler. And I'm unsatisfied.
I feel contrived.
Oh, I should have said my word then.
It's
I'm
okay.
underwhelmed. Good night.